forward to this.
You guys have been demanding this one the most, so I'm happy to present to you part 2 of What If Yoda Trained General Grievous. Now before our story begins, we last left off with Yoda and Grievous saying their final goodbyes as Yoda heads off to Kashyyyk and Grievous to Utapau to accompany Obi-Wan in capturing or destroying Savage Oppress, general of the Separatist droid army. I've given it some deep thought and decided to retcon that last bit where Grievous goes with Obi-Wan. It felt a bit off, so I think this new version fits best for the story. Also, I realized I was pronouncing Grievous's real name way off. It's actually Kaiman Jai Shilal and not Kwamain Jai Shilal. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. The next chapter of the Star Wars Elseworlds story starts here during Revenge of the Sith, where Mace Windu and the other Jedi are discussing what to do with the Chancellor. Kaiman is also present during this moment to give his input on the matter.
Master Windu, may I interrupt? General Kenobi has made contact and we have begun our attack.
Thank you, Commander. Anakin, deliver this report to the Chancellor. His reaction will give us a clue to his intentions.
Yes, Master.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. The dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor.
I sense it too. Something feels very out of place.
If he does not give up his emergency powers after the destruction of General Oppress, then he should be removed from office.
The Jedi Council would have to take control of the Senate in order to secure a peaceful transition.
A transition that must be treated very carefully. The Jedi do not have the best reputation with the public, and if not treated properly, we may be viewed as traitors.
To a dark place this line of thought will carry us. Great care we must take.
The meeting concludes and the Jedi go back to what they were doing. On Utapau, Obi-Wan continues his pursuit of Savage Oppress, like in the original timeline with General Grievous. At the Jedi Temple, Kaiman enters a room filled with Jedi Younglings. These Younglings are his students, who may or may not be the next generation of Jedi. For the next few hours, Kaiman spends his time training the Younglings in various lightsaber forms, general combat, and meditation, basically the same routine he does for his sessions. Ever since reaching the rank of Jedi Knight many years ago, Kaiman spends most of his time at the temple training the students placed under him. Being the second most powerful Jedi in the Order, this gives Kaiman a natural commanding presence and a sense of respect and wisdom. He cares for the Younglings as if they were his own blood and treats his fellow temple guards as brothers and sisters. Now, just so you guys can get an understanding of Grievous's full potential at his peak, in this timeline, he's basically as powerful, if not more powerful, than the 2003 Legends Grievous from the old 2D Clone Wars series, except this Grievous is a Jedi and doesn't unleash his raw power unless it's necessary. As the time went by, Grievous's remaining moments with his fellow Jedi would be his very last, as the Force shifts into complete darkness. While meditating in front of the Younglings and teaching them to clear their minds and focus in on their feelings, Grievous feels a subtle shift in the Force, but since his connection to the Force is cut off by 75% due to most of his body being cybernetics, he isn't able to fully grasp the massive disturbance in the Force, unlike his master who felt it on Kashyyyk. When the training session concludes, Grievous calls for a break, where he dismisses the Younglings. He steps out and makes his way to his quarters. The temple hallways are dark and empty. The metal clanking from his feet can be heard echoing from a distance. Entering his private room, he sits down and begins to adjust his cybernetics. As he is fixing and adjusting some of the tech inside his wrist and joints, he takes a moment to reminisce on the last couple of years, fighting in the most brutal battles the Clone Wars had to offer, along his fellow Jedi and troopers, being raised and trained by Master Yoda, arguably the most powerful Jedi of the Order, and of course the joy and peace he gets from training the next generation of Jedi. Underneath all that hard metal and cybernetics on his face, he's smiling on the inside. After a few moments pass by, he stands up and puts on his Jedi robes, stepping out of his quarters. Grievous makes his way back to the training room, but again, he feels something is very off. In the distance, he hears a noise that he can't quite figure out. The two Jedi temple guards in front of him don't notice it since their hearing is nowhere near as advanced as Grievous's, especially with his upgraded audio receptors that were installed on his new body. Grievous signals the two Jedi temple guards to accompany him back to the training room. As they walk through the halls of the Jedi temple, he speaks to his guards, telling them,
Something doesn't feel right.
Before the guards could give him a response, they start to hear blaster fire in the distance. An alarmed Grievous races to the corner of the hallway where he sees a squadron of 501st clone troopers.
Clones? In the temple?
An explosion occurs in the distance. The clones look up to see what awaits them at the end of the hall. They aim their blasters and begin to fire upon the cybernetic Jedi Master. He deflects their blaster fire, not understanding why they're shooting at him. The clones didn't stop, so Grievous ignites his 2 extra lightsabers. The temple guards behind him also ignite their sabers, but in a literal span of just 4 to 6 seconds, Grievous charges at the clones and decapitates them all. He looks around at the dead bodies, confused, not knowing what to make of the situation. Realizing that the younglings were left unattended back at the training hall, Grievous commands the 2 temple guards to follow him as the 3 begin running. When they arrive to the hallway that leads into the training room, they find that it has been collapsed by an explosion of debris from earlier attacks. Grievous instructs the 2 temple guards accompanying him to go find the others, as he would take charge of finding and protecting the young Jedi. Grievous quickly and decisively speedruns through the halls of the Jedi Temple, jumping and racing up the temple's walls and ceilings, mowing down any clone trooper who foolishly attempted to engage him. A million things are racing through his mind as he panics to get to the younglings just in time.
Why are the clones attacking the temple? Why are they doing this? I don't understand. The younglings. I must get to them.
By now the temple has been alerted of the attacks. For Grievous to reach his students, he must clear out an upper defense section that's filled with clone troopers on one of the temple's floor levels. Igniting all 4 of his lightsabers as he approached a hallway crowded with clone troopers, Grievous relentlessly cuts down every single one as if they were battle droids. He slices them down quickly and efficiently, not showing any signs of holding back. This is life or death. When half of the clones get slaughtered, they immediately call for assistance. But before the clones could finish their sentence on their comms, Grievous throws all 4 of his lightsabers in a vertical direction, which slashes them in half. Since he can't use the force with his hands, he has specialized magnets that are coded to his lightsaber hilts to retrieve his sabers back when thrown. Finally reaching the training room, Grievous knocks down the door with a violent kick. He looks around but can't see the younglings anywhere. That is until they slowly creep out from the chairs and furniture they had been hiding behind. Grievous visibly shows a sign of relief through his reptilian eyes. He's found his students.
Master Shilal, we hid as soon as we heard the blaster fire. What's going on?
We have been betrayed, young one. We must move quickly and decisively if we are to survive.
He opens up a small hologram on his wrist and begins to explain a plan to escape the Jedi Temple, as he would stay back to defend it.
There are secret tunnel systems inside the temple. We must find them and hide there. I will regroup with the rest to fight back this raid. Do as I say and follow me quietly. Remember your training.
That will bring any surviving Jedi home, where I will be waiting for them.
Lord Vader, a Jedi has penetrated our upper-level defenses.
Yes, I sense Grievous. I'll deal with him. You stay and protect the beacon. Guard it with your lives.
Grievous signals to the younglings to follow him as they would step out of the room, motioning his long metal finger up to his mask in a hushing gesture. They need to be very quiet and calm. The group slowly walk out of the training room, turning their heads left and right to make sure they aren't spotted. Grievous would take the lead as the kids would follow behind, with their lightsabers out but not ignited.
The nearest tunnel entrance is in the hallway leading into the Jedi Council chambers. That is where we will find it.
The group sneaks through the Jedi Temple. They hear the blaster fire and screams in the distance of both Jedi and clones being killed. Luckily, they make it safe and sound until Grievous hears clone troopers nearing in on them. Not having enough time to open the tunnel doors without exposing it to the enemy, which would compromise not only the younglings but any other Jedi who's hiding in the tunnels throughout the temple, he quickly motions the children to run and hide inside the council chambers.
There is no time. Quickly, Padawans, hide in the council chambers and do not come out until I return. No matter what you hear, stay inside. We cannot compromise the secret passages with the clones looking. Now go. I will hold off the enemy.
In the distance, a squadron of clone troopers spot Grievous. They immediately begin firing upon him, but the clones are no match for the raw power of the Kaleesh Jedi Master. In a quick motion, Grievous jumps on the ceiling and begins to speedrun at the clones' direction. He jumps from the ceilings and walls back and forth to confuse and intimidate them. Ultimately, he lands in their center and obliterates them with a powerful whirlwind spin attack, using all 4 of his lightsabers. He takes a split second to look at the incoming clones from another direction. He doesn't realize he's being aimed at with a rocket launcher. He's fired upon again, and this time the hallway floor collapses along with him, but he doesn't even get a scratch. Landing on a lower level, Grievous fights off another clone squadron. This time, he kills them even more aggressively. It's not even a fight, it's a straight up slaughter. So many clones screaming in agony. The dust settles, and Grievous slightly senses a dark presence. A surviving clone trooper attempts to shoot him, but his head is sliced off along with his brothers. Grievous turns around and sees a hooded figure with a blue lightsaber as the head of the clone trooper he just killed rolls towards his direction. It's the newly appointed Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader.
Skywalker?
Lord Vader motions his lightsaber into a fighting stance and charges at the Jedi Master. Grievous switches to a more offensive fighting stance as he adjusts the armor plating on his body. The two engage in lightsaber combat. Locking their lightsabers into a parry, Grievous gets a good look at the once Anakin Skywalker. He sees his flaming yellow Sith eyes, figuring out that Anakin has fallen.
My powers are beyond you now. There is no escape from the dark side.
Foolish boy. It takes strength to resist the dark side. Only the weak embrace it.
I will bring your arrogance crashing down upon you.
Grievous uses his full strength to push Vader with his arms. His back painfully crashes onto the hard concrete of the marble wall. He turns his head to the side and sees a squadron of clones running to him and Vader. Grievous knocks down a statue from the hallway where he just fought. He uses the dust and smoke as a distraction to hide. Darth Vader regains his consciousness and signals the clones to silently get in formation around him. It's dark and quiet, very eerie. The clones can't spot the cybernetic Jedi, and Lord Vader is focusing in on his senses to locate him. The group slowly moves back. Vader motions his lightsaber in a defensive stance, waiting on an eventual attack. He knows that Kaiman would never leave a fight unfinished. The clones are determined but slightly intimidated as they would aim their rifles up at the ceilings with their flashlights on, hoping to spot their prey. With each passing second, the clones begin to feel uneasy as they notice Lord Vader gets slightly anxious, but angrier. Grievous slowly unfolds his arms and detaches his feet from the ceiling. He descends in a speeding light motion so fast that the clones didn't have time to react, except Lord Vader, who instantly felt his presence. Vader dashes away from the impact zone while the clones are crushed and killed by the Jedi Master's sharp metal claws on his feet. Once more, Vader and Grievous clash with their lightsabers, fighting throughout the temple, flipping and dashing through the air. This duel is the most intense and aggressive fight that Vader and Grievous have ever been in. Both are using their full raw power. Vader has never fought an opponent like Grievous. He takes the high ground by jumping on another floor where they are dueling. As soon as his feet hit the ground, he reaches with his right hand to force crush Grievous's chest, since that's where his organs are protected. Grievous hears the tiny metal pieces from Vader's hand move, with his advanced audio receptors that he recently adjusted to their max settings when he began dueling Vader. Before the Dark Lord can get a grasp on his chest, Grievous dashes out of the way and jumps onto a wall. He sets his eyes on the Sith Lord and jumps towards him, causing a small shake on the ground with his heavy metal body. Vader retreats a few meters back, realizing that he can't keep up with Grievous and his flawless form of a pod. He quickly hurls a bunch of rocks and debris at the Jedi Master, though it proves to be useless, as Grievous would swiftly avoid it by jumping out of the way and cutting them down.
You can't beat me. You call this a fight?
Your arrogance will be your downfall.
Vader uses the Force to grab Grievous and throw him into a wall, causing one of his metal parts to get crushed.
And they say you're the best on the council. You're barely half a man.
I may be half a man, but you're barely half the Jedi Master you wished to be.
This only aggravates Vader even more. He charges at Grievous again and they parry with their blades.
Give it up! You're no match for my skills!
You are the chosen one! You are meant for so much more.
Vader overpowers Grievous and force pushes him. He then begins running at him only to be caught by his metal cybernetic foot. He gets a tight grip on Vader's head and yanks him across the temple, sending him crashing into a bunch of debris from earlier attacks. Grievous starts running away from the scene to go check on the Younglings, But the fight isn't over yet. He hears the debris rumble in the distance. It's Vader. Using both of his hands, Lord Vader picks up a massive statue and throws it viciously at Grievous, which damages him and smashes through a giant temple door which leads into a larger hallway.
You should update your teachings. You're past your prime.
Grievous heard what he said as he stood up, shaking off the debris and rubble that had just crashed upon him and nearly crushed him. Luckily, his cybernetics weren't damaged critically. He turns around and locks eyes with Darth Vader. Vader gets in his offensive position, with 2 clones by his side. Grievous ignites his lightsabers, then 2 Jedi Temple Guards appear behind him. Grievous lunges at Vader. Once again, they engage in heated combat. As they begin fighting, Vader is slowly starting to lose his flow with his lightsaber technique since Grievous is using Vapad. The Kaleesh Master soon gets the upper hand, disarming the Sith Lord, but Vader is helped by a squad of clones who fire rockets at Grievous. Again, the impact knocks his lightsabers out of his hand. The two begin wrestling on the ground. Since Grievous is mostly made up of metal, this gives him an advantage. He punches, kicks, and body slams Darth Vader repeatedly, trying to incapacitate him.
Dare attack my temple? My children?
Grievous punches Vader in the face repeatedly. He uses both hands and wraps them around his throat, attempting to choke out the young Sith Lord. Using all his rage and dark side energy, Vader powers his way out by using the Force to forcefully crush Grievous's arms, making them weak enough for him to break out of his submission hold, which could kill him easily. They both grab their lightsabers back and begin to fight. Vader holds his own until he can find the right opening to kill him. When a lost youngling appears in the distance, the child is instantly murdered by a clone trooper, a cold-blooded shot right in the face. Grievous witnesses this and screams out. He shoves Vader away and throws his lightsaber at the clone. The second he turns around to resume his duel with Vader, he feels a tight grip on his chest. Vader, using the Force, crushes the sensitive container on his chest that protects his lungs and heart and other important arteries. This results in Grievous now having his painful yet iconic cough. In this timeline, this was the opening that Vader needed. Grievous' slight distraction by just a millisecond almost costed him his life. He stands there in immense pain and shock, coughing uncontrollably. Vader swiftly uses both hands and thrusts Grievous out of the nearest window, violently sending him tumbling down. He believes he's killed him because Grievous didn't return for the rest of Order 66 during Operation Nightfall. With Grievous critically injured and almost dead, it's likely he's incapacitated somewhere outside the temple, not being able to walk or function properly. This leaves his students unguarded, specifically the ones he instructed to hide in the council chambers.
I think Master Shilal was killed. What will we do now?
Why are the clones doing this? I thought they were our friends. It's Master Skywalker. Maybe he can help.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Later that day, long after Darth Vader finished his mission at the temple, Grievous manages to sneak back inside through a secret tunnel system. His main priority is to find his students, but when he enters the Jedi Council chambers, his eyes begin to tear up as he looked over at the dead bodies of the younglings, his students. The once hopeful Jedi Master collapses on his knees. He slowly places his hands on his face in absolute sadness and heartbreak. He's failed his children and sworn duty of protecting and fully training them. After he finishes grieving, he limps through the hallways of the Jedi Temple and tries to limit the amount of times he coughs. His threatening chest injury at the hands of Lord Vader has shook his confidence. Much like in the original timeline, Grievous is not more like his original counterpart. Not that he's a coward, but he's most likely to retreat in a fight rather than stay, due to his near-death experience. Though this one feels differently, because it was much more personal and quick. He won't be the same person anymore after the sun sets.
I can only hope we're not too late. I don't wish to be the last of the Jedi.
To the very summit of the temple we must go. There shall we find the beacon, and end this deception.
Master, I fear for Anakin.
Clouded is his fate. Concerned for him I am. Quickly, young ObiWan.
We seem to have attracted some unwanted attention.
Divide that attention we can.
Shall we split up?
And may the Force soon bring us together again.
During his walk, Grievous hears footsteps in the distance. He stops to get a better sense of who's approaching his direction, so he climbs up a wall and positions himself for an attack. As the footsteps get closer and closer, the shadow of the figure begins to get larger. Grievous jumps down with his lightsaber ignited. The individual is spooked and ignites his lightsaber as well, both confusing themselves as hostiles.
Oh, it's you.
By the Force, it's good to see you, Master Kenobi. We were attacked. The clones have betrayed us.
Obi-Wan notices his painful cough by mentioning it. Grievous tells him not to worry. The two would bring each other up to speed. Kenobi tells the cyborg Jedi that Yoda is also with him, as they make their way to the beacon room, after fighting off clone troopers in the temple, much like the side mission with Yoda and Obi-Wan in the Revenge of the Sith game. When Kenobi and Grievous arrive, they are confronted by clone assassins. The two Jedi Masters stand back to back as they fight off the agile and deadly clones. These clones were specifically trained to kill Jedi, but they aren't any match for the combined strengths of Kenobi and Grievous. Soon after, they are both reunited with Yoda. Grievous stands idling on the side somewhere off camera as this scene plays.
For the clones to discover the recalibration, a long time it will take.
When Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Grievous walk into the next room, Grievous steps away since he knows exactly what Obi-Wan is about to see. He doesn't want to witness the heartbreak and disbelief on Obi-Wan's face when he sees his former apprentice slaughtering their fellow Jedi.
If into the security recordings you go, only pain will you find.
I must know the truth, Master. It can't be. It can't be.
Yoda would then walk out, leaving Obi-Wan to contemplate on how he can find Anakin. He walks over to his apprentice who's waiting outside.
Master, I failed them. They're gone. All of them. They trusted me and I let them die.
Sad this loss is. Strong is the dark side now.
The Emperor. We can stop him, Master. Together. We can end this horror before it grows into something much worse.
To confront this Darth Sidious, alone I must be.
What? Master, we can destroy him together. He won't be any match for the both of us.
In no condition are you to fight. Almost killed by his apprentice you were. Since your injuries, I do. Risk your life, I will not. An ally, Senator Organa is. Find him, and take you to safety he will. Bring us together once more, the Force will. Hope of this, I do.
When Yoda arrives on Polis Massa long after his duel with Palpatine, he watches from the glass as his apprentice is being treated for his injuries and broken parts. Grievous' cybernetics are repaired from his earlier battle with Darth Vader. The medical droids inform him and Yoda that his internal injuries can't be fixed. These are permanent. They advise him to be very careful with where he goes and where he picks his fights. This realization is how Grievous transitions from the powerful offensive fighter that he is to a more defensive and conservative warrior. He's now more like the original timeline Grievous, who'd often run away from his battles. The simple mistake that led to Vader crushing his chest has spiraled into this. Grievous nods to the droid and lays back down as they would start to continue running more tests and adjusting his new chest container to protect his damaged lungs. This experience has humbled him and showed him how quickly he could have died. While Grievous is being attended to, Padme later arrives with Obi-Wan. She is next door, also being attended by the medical droids, with Yoda and Obi-Wan along with Bail Organa watching over her. Grievous arrived at the medical station way earlier along with Bail Organa, which is why he doesn't know that Padme is there, and the children of the Chosen One. Now of course the Grievous scenes during this wouldn't be shown in Revenge of the Sith, but instead a tie-in comic or something like that, since it's not relevant or important to the overall story of the movie and the context of the scenes. After Yoda informs Obi-Wan that he has training for him on Tatooine, Grievous is cleared to leave the medical station. When he arrives on the ship they're in, he walks past Obi-Wan. The two masters give their final goodbyes, not knowing if they'll ever cross paths again. Grievous continues making his way down the hall. He sees Yoda and approaches him.
What do we do now, Master?
Until the time is right, into exile we must go.
I agree. If the Sith destroy the last of the Jedi, then there will be no hope in saving the galaxy.
In your exile, training I have for you.
Training?
In time, learn of this lesson you will. On the horizon, a journey awaits.
What journey?
Soon, answer those questions will be.
How do I find my purpose again, Master? The Jedi are all gone. The Republic is no more.
In your solitude, use your feelings and find it you will, Kaiman. Trust in the Force.
With the conclusion of the Clone Wars and the end of the Republic, Grievous exiles himself somewhere in the galaxy. Whether he went with Yoda to Dagobah or not, this is yet to be revealed. As his new life begins with the rise of the Empire in front of him and a dark future ahead, there is still a spark of light, with a new journey awaiting him on the horizon, as his story is far from over. If you guys stayed until the very end, just know that I greatly appreciate you so much. There will be a part 3 to this story that will conclude this Jedi Grievous trilogy, but I won't be doing it anytime soon. I have other ideas that I want to at least start first, before coming back to wrap the story up. Hopefully later this year I can upload part 3, since I have an outline of where I want the story to go. I'll be seeing you guys in the next one, and may the Force be with you.